Hello, my friend. Welcome to Fear into Faith. This is our Miracles, Signs, and Wonders edition. And with me today in the studio is an amazing audience! So exciting. And also with me in the studio today is an incredible woman who spent 45 days in the hospital during COVID alone, thought she was going to die. But God showed up in a really incredible way. I'm your host, Summer Day, and with me in the studio today is Shannon Eckhoff, who just happens to be like one of my favorite people in the world, very dear friend of mine. So it's really exciting to interview you.
I'm excited.
Are you nervous at all?
No, you make me feel very comfortable.
Well, that's good.
And calm.
We're just two girls hanging out.
Right, exactly.
Just chit-chatting. It doesn't matter that there's people here and 17 cameras. And
Okay, well, thank you. Thanks, I appreciate that one.
and all this stuff and a moth flying by.
Yep.
Like, don't worry about it, Shannon. We got this. Tell us where you're from.
I'm from Wilmer, Minnesota.
I think we're supposed to be able to hear that when you talk.
Okay.
Because you're from Minnesota. Isn't that a thing?
Not really.
Now I'm insulting people.
Not really.
Man.
No.
I can't work like this. And you're married?
I am. I'm married we just celebrated 28 years of marriage and 33 years together. And
wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty exciting.
And how many kids do you have?
I have seven beautiful children.
And what are their ages?
26 to 13.
26 to 13.
Yeah.
Wow, big spread.
Big spread.
And what do you do?
Well, I was a stay-at-home mom, but through this whole process of the last couple years, I now have this amazing boss and coworkers that I can't brag enough about.
Oh,
and my
what
boss,
do you do with this boss and coworkers?
My boss would be Summer Day. And I'm one of her Fear into Faith accountability coaches.
Nice.
Yeah,
You're really good. You've been coaching with us for a couple of years now. And there's a moth that likes you. It'd be really cool if it landed on your head. This will be a bonus episode.
Right. What is it? I'm always changing. So, a moth and butterflies are always
that's what it is.
Yes.
God's just showing a symbol of you. You've come out of your shell and flying around. I love it. Okay. So you've been coaching with us for a couple years, and your story is very unique in the fact that it does actually have to do with our Fear into Faith community. So let's chat a little bit about, when did Summer Day explode into your life?
Summer Day exploded into my life on Facebook. We were in the same communities, a few different Facebook groups, and somehow we friended each other.
Yeah, I don't even remember how that happened.
We friended each other on Facebook, and then I started watching you put everything up for sale,
Oh, yes, when we were doing our beautiful adventures in COVID, having Facebook Live garage sales.
Yes,
that was fun.
Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh my goodness, this woman is so brave, because I couldn't imagine selling everything and, just traveling like that. But yeah, so now I connected with you. We did your first challenge, and you came at me with this amazing coaching offer. And I was like, no, I can't afford it. Can't afford it.
To be in our Fear and Faith Academy coaching program.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
it was a year program at that time.
Yes. Yep. And I was like, no, I can't afford it. Can't afford it. I had every excuse. And God just was slapping me left and right. He's like, okay, I'll provide. And it was the first time I completely stepped out in faith financially with God. And he showed up every month with my payment, and it was covered. And I got to have the best year of my life, healing and growing and changing.
In what ways did you heal or grow or change?
I was probably one of the worst self-haters. I could say things in my brain that if probably my husband would say to me, I wouldn't be with him. I could just, knock myself down in a second. So I really needed to change that. And the other thing I was...
How do you feel about yourself now?
Oh, I'm like the daughter of the Most High.
Come
I'm like perfection.
I love that answer.
Yeah, so I'm perfect.
That's good. So what else? How else did your life change?
Well, I also needed to discover myself because I've been a stay-at-home mom for, 26 years. I gave up a nursing career, and I didn't really know who I was anymore. I didn't know, I knew I was a wife, I knew I was a mom, I knew I was a daughter, everything, but I didn't know who Shannon was. I didn't know who I was. And that was really scary because all my children were leaving the house pretty soon. And what am I gonna do when they're gone?
Yeah.
So I had to go on this journey of rediscovery, and you helped me on that journey
So good.
to rediscover.
I'll never forget meeting your husband. I think you've been coaching with me for about maybe, 7 months, and I got to meet him, and I was shocked. He was one of the first husbands I met in my coaching journey that wanted to share how you had changed. And I don't remember how he phrased it, but he was just like, you have no idea what you did for my wife, and then in turn did for your relationship.
Yes.
You want to share a little bit about that?
Yes. He knew I was broken. He knew I was broken more than I knew I was broken. And he's always stood by me and supported everything I've done. But when you're broken, it's really hard to see things with the right eyes. And he supported me spending the money. He supported me taking time away from family to go on this journey. And our marriage has just radically changed.
Awesome.
I was very emotional. So I was really easy to steal his voice.
Wow.
So my emotions would take away his voice. So if we were going to have a deep conversation, I would just get emotional and just what,
Wow.
And now we can have amazing conversations and go to conversations where we're not offended. I'm not offended. He's not defensive.
Great.
So so our marriage is radically changed.
And how did that affect your kids?
Oh, my children? Oh, well, they have like a brand new mom also. Yeah. I just have way more joy. I don't feel the pressures of being a mother anymore. I just find complete joy. And I'm very different with my children. I'm not as judgmental in a sense, if someone would buy something and walk in the door and they're all excited, I'd be like, well, why'd you buy that? Well, that's not okay. I should have been like, oh, that's beautiful, or however. But so, like, my voice has changed so much.
Wow.
And by me fixing me, it seeped into all of my relationships, my children, my marriage, my mother-daughter relationships. Yeah, so everything has changed.
I'm so proud of you. A lot of women sometimes, we give so much to everybody else, we give last to ourselves.
Yes.
And I'm so grateful that you said yes to the coaching program. And I feel like you've been a catalyst in our program of telling a lot of other women, you actually got to put yourself first, because if you don't have anything to give, you have no idea how your marriage can change or your relationships can change when you can come at them from a full place instead of a depleted place, which is where we were. We're
Exactly.
Pause really quick. We'll take a commercial break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk to Shannon about those 45 days she spent in the hospital right after this.
Guys, if you take a look around you, you are seeing a lost and broken world. People are more depressed than they've ever been. They're looking and searching for an answer, and you and I both know what that answer is. The answer is Jesus. Come and train with us and become that change. Become the hands and feet of Jesus. It's only a short time period until everything transforms.
Welcome back, my friend. We are here with Shannon, and we're just going to jump right into it, Shannon. Let's start talking. I appreciate you sharing about the academy and, all the things, and I'm sure people want to hear about this 45 days in the hospital. And I thought it was important to kind of share your journey a little backwards so people could hear kind of what happened and why it was so important for you to be, in that program and how it changed your life. I wanted to button hook one thing before we moved on, though. What was another blessing that came from you joining the Fear and Faith Academy program?
You?
Well, I was fishing for an answer, Shannon, but not that one. I was fishing for the community and the women.
Yes, well, I would have said that next.
Okay.
So I totally believed I could do life on my own. me, my husband, my children. Not a lot of female friendships, and I learned something completely different over that year, that I need women in my life. I need women very, very much, just to be able to stand in the gap,
Yeah.
to have that deep level of relationships, trust.
And you didn't have that before?
No, nope, I didn't have that. So
I can't imagine that, because you're like the greatest friend and everybody in our community loves you. And it's really hard to picture you not having that.
yeah, nope, I was content in that lie.
And you have friends now?
Oh, yeah, I have oodles of friends.
I like your face on that. You're like, okay.
Yeah, of course, Yeah, so
How many
now,
friends do you have now in our community?
Oh, probably too many to count. I've got so many beautiful friends, and I love it. Women, message me, oh, I need prayers, I'm struggling, and I really love stepping into that now that I'm in a healthy mindset. My mind is healthy, my spirit's healthy, and my physical body is healthy.
So good.
Yeah,
I love it.
and so, and they all go together.
Yes.
And when you don't have one, you have none.
Yeah.
So kind of like God, you just have to have God and just let him work in you and let him heal you. Just be open to him.
So good. So good. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about the hospital stay. Okay. So I know you had joined the coaching program the beginning of January.
Yes.
This was a couple of years ago. And when did you end up in the hospital? Pretty soon after that.
Yes, well, we started coaching towards the end of January, and then by February, probably around Valentine's Day, I was in the hospital.
How did you end up in the hospital?
Before we started coaching, I came to you.
And just to clarify, so we would have coaching calls once a week for an hour and a half, and it was with a group of 12 women.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And when I decided to do this, I committed to this 100%.
Yeah.
I knew this was my life link. I knew that I had to do this because I was very, very ill. I had been ill about a year and a half before I started Fear into Faith. My body was just deteriorating, and I
you were
couldn't.
Ill before.
Yes,
What was going on with your body?
I had diverticulitis, a very rare form of diverticulitis, and
How long had you been sick for?
well, I had actually been sick my whole life.
Your whole life?
Since I was 4. I've been sick with colon problems my whole life. I don't remember ever not having a stomach ache, ever.
Oh my gosh.
Ever.
Like a continual stomach ache
All the
your
time.
whole entire life?
Yes, my whole entire life. Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I had the diverticulitis, and I kept having attacks. So it'd put me in the hospital, and then I'd get better, and I'd go home, and then I'd be back in the hospital. Well, then I was in the hospital for diverticulitis in February, and I went, they took antibiotics, was starting to feel better, and then I started to get a new...
How many times had you been in the hospital for that?
Multiple times. I
Like
can't...
10?
Oh, yeah.
20?
Probably about 10. Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I was doing really well, and then all of a sudden this pain started on my left side, and it was a different pain, and they said it was gas pain.
Okay.
And at this age, I know what gas pain is. So I laid there for 5 days, and
in the hospital, laying there for 5 days.
And they were just telling me it was gas pain, and I needed narcotics for it. So a new doctor came on, and she walked in the room, and she's like, "Oh, we gotta see what's going on." So they rushed me down to have scans, and they found out I was laying there with a perforated bowel. So I laid for several days with a perforated bowel, and reminding you that it's COVID.
Yeah, so you're alone.
So I'm alone, but the medical system was very different during COVID.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like it was, you couldn't get into appointments, you couldn't get into certain doctors you would need to get into. So I had the perforated bowel. They shipped me to a high-level hospital. They put tubes in me and put me on antibiotics and sent me home. So they said they'd call me in a few days to schedule surgery. Well, nobody called because they had no employees to do the scheduling for surgery. and I was getting sicker and sicker and sicker. It was Easter Sunday, and I was sitting with my son, and I remember picking up my phone, and I put makeup on, so I looked really nice, and I remember him standing behind me, and I thought, okay, God, I have to take this picture because it might be my last picture with my son. So I took the picture, and I still have it. I look at it, and I look at it almost daily, thanking God that I'm still here. But finally, the hospital called and said, okay, you need to get in right now. So I went up, and I was getting prepped for surgery. And I recorded myself, and I shared it with our group, Into Fear Into Faith. And it was probably the most raw, honest thing I've ever said in my life, and shared my struggles with, am I going to die?
Yeah, and I think you were asking for prayer.
Yes, and I was asking for prayers. I couldn't even pray for myself anymore. I was just, I was like a shell. It was like I could feel my spirit being snuffed out.
Wow, I could feel your spirit being snuffed out.
Yes.
And then what happened?
And then they did my surgery, and they removed a foot of my colon.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I had a whole foot of my colon removed. And I was looking at having a colostomy bag. So, of course, when I woke up from surgery, the first thing I did was go to my stomach to see if I had a bag. And the nurse is like, no, no, no. It's like amazing. They could fuse it, or they could, stitch it back together. And so I didn't even have to have a colostomy.
Wow. I remember during this time, because I had just met you just became a client,
Yeah.
and then you got sick, and then you were out of the hospital, and then you got sick again. And I remember telling my staff and telling ladies in that group that, like, I was not expecting you to keep coming on coaching calls. If anybody had a reason to drop the program you just joined, like, go ahead and drop. And I was shocked. I mean, you came on coaching calls every week in your hospital gown, in your hospital bed, laying down, sometimes drugged out pretty bad.
Oh, sometimes I don't even. I don't even remember being there.
And I would remember going, I don't even know if she's with us right now, but she's actually, how did she remember the time?
Yeah.
How did you anything? But you were there every week, and we were praying over you every week.
Yeah. Funny thing is, I made sure my husband would call me, or my mom would call me, to make sure I wouldn't forget that I had our meeting.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because it was so important to me that, because I knew this, God made it very clear, this is where I needed to be. And God made it very clear that these women were supposed to be in my life.
Wow, oh my
gosh. And
let me pause you right there. We'll take one more commercial break, and then we'll be right back right after this. Welcome back. We are here with Shannon Eckhoff, who spent 45 days in the hospital. And let's just talk a little bit. One of the first things I remember is you coming on the call and saying, I've never shown my face to women without like makeup and stuff. You're always so afraid of any women judging you or anything.
Yes.
And you were just there. You were raw. There was no makeup. You're on pain meds. You're all the things. And I remember every week it was like we were getting more afraid and more afraid for you. And there was a call where there was one call that you didn't make. The call before that, though, was pretty heavy because a girl named Jessica, she had like a prophetic vision or dream or something about you that had to do with all of us. Do you remember what that was?
I do.
You want to share that?
Yes. She had messaged you because she had this, her first vision she had ever had, and she was very afraid to share it.
Yeah, she was super nervous.
Yeah, because I remember you telling me that she was afraid, like, what happens? She dies, and then my word is wrong.
Well, that was the next week. So the first week she shared it. And do you remember what the vision was?
Yes, the vision was a whole family, a herd of elephants. I was on my knees and like falling, almost going like prostrate on the ground. And all of a sudden, the herd of elephants came around and surrounded me and protected me. And that is exactly what Fear Into Faith did, was they surrounded me and protected me and helped shield. And they were the hands that God knew I needed. And So she had this beautiful vision.
And that's what she said. She said like that like it was like me and those 12 women
Yes.
were the elephants surrounding her. And then there was another girl on the call who's like, oh, that's kind of like shield maidens in battle
Yes.
that, pick up your shield. And since then, that's been the term kind of in our community
It
that we
has.
use for women that's what we're called to be. We're called to be shield women, shield maidens, and we're called to pick up in each other's weakness. And I know we prayed a lot for you that night. And then the next week, you didn't come. And that is when all of us got really scared. And that's when Jessica reached out to me. And she was terrified because she didn't know what to think anymore. She's like, I felt like I was walking in this prophetic gift. But if Shannon, she was like, Summer, if Shannon dies, does that mean that my vision wasn't from God? It was like her faith was on the line. It was a really crazy time.
That is
all of
true.
us.
She did share that with me.
And so you were in the hospital thinking for most of the 45 days that you were going to die.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us more about that.
Yeah. I went through all different kinds of emotions, begging and pleading to God. I have babies at home. I can't leave my children. I have things I have to do yet in life. I haven't lived the life that I've always had dreamt of living. Not that I wasn't happy with the life I had, but I had more to life than what I had experienced. And so Jessica just shared it with me. She would message me. So her faith built as my faith was diminishing. And so that was so beautiful, because in that, even in my darkest time, people were like growing from what I was going through.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so that was really a beautiful thing now that I can look back at it and, kind of process the whole thing. But then I was so weak, I couldn't pray.
Did
my
you ever
friend,
feel like, oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was going to say, did you ever feel like the doctors or nurses were very concerned about you not making it?
Oh, yes, because I was septic.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay, we forgot to add that part.
I had a perforated colon, so I was septic.
And then you were septic. Wow.
Yeah, so I was literally, like I said, my life felt like it was just, my spirit was just leaving my body. So, yeah.
And so this surgery, when they removed a foot of your colon, was like a last-ditch effort, and yet you thought you were going to wake up colostomy bag.
Yes.
And here you wake up,
Yeah.
and everything starts to be better. And that's when you started recovering pretty fast, right?
Yes, I started, even the miracle came coming out of the hospital. I had to have a few things done before I could leave, and I wasn't achieving them. And my brother showed up at a healing prayer ministry, like a special event that was going on at their church. And he stepped up and asked them, my sister's in the hospital, and, kind of what I'd been through. And I must have had about 400 people praying for me. And right after that, I instantly could eat. I could drink, and I was going to the bathroom. Yeah. It's a big deal when you're...
it's a very big deal at the hospital after you have surgery and stuff. Yeah.
So I was released that night. They let me go home. So that was a miracle in itself. Here's a beautiful thing, is that God has shown up in my life so many times since I was born. I've had life-saving miracles. I probably had about 7 of them that I can talk about. And I just know that God has something really big. And
yes, he does.
Right.
We're starting to see what it might be.
Yes.
Okay, so you talked about being in pain since you were 4 years old.
Yes.
You were in the hospital for 45 days, and are you in pain right now?
Oh, no.
Wow, how did that happen?
I had the usual after pain, recovery pain. But no, I'm pain-free. I can eat what I want. I can drink. I can do, things that I couldn't do for several years.
And I know when we talked about that, you thought, that it wasn't just because of the surgery or the hospital.
No.
You feel like it was because you went through all of the emotional and the mental and the spiritual journey side of it. Because I'll never forget when you told me, I've been pain-free for the last 6 months. I'm like, what? How did that happen?
Right. Yeah, because I trusted God. Fear into faith was my yes. And if I hadn't, I know I wouldn't be here. If I hadn't been obedient to what God was telling me to do, I know I wouldn't be here, especially as I look back at pictures of me and video of me in the hospital. I know. I used to be a nurse. I know. I know what labs, numbers are, and I know the reality of what was going on with my body. And now I'm pain-free and just living the best life ever.
Did you ever think you'd be pain-free?
No.
I mean, you've been in pain for decades.
Yeah, because I didn't even know what it was like not to have pain. It was like this, naughty child, you just, or naughty whatever, just get away. I don't want to carry you no more. I don't want you anymore. And it just never would go away.
Wow.
It was always there.
Wow.
And so now my life is different. It's so different. I can leave the house and not worry about where I need to find a bathroom. I mean, that's a big deal when you suffer, colon problems and things like that. My life was very limited at times when I'd have flare-ups. So, and now I can eat what I want. I can drink what I want. I can, enjoy my life in a different level that I never did. But here's the thing: if I hadn't healed emotionally, I wouldn't have been physically healed.
Tell me more about that.
They could cut out the poison, but they can't heal the poison. Only God can do that.
Wow.
So I had to heal my spirit, and I had to get rid of the brokenness in me. And I owed it to God, I owed it to me, and I owed it to my family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you feel like because you did the emotional work and that healing was what caused the pain and all the other stuff to go away.
Yep.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my
Isn't
gosh.
that awesome? Praise God.
Well, I really wanted your story in the book because I'm like, that's like a fear into faith miracle.
It is.
And, I don't get emotional, but I can't imagine what would happen if you weren't here, and you're such a blessing to our whole community. We have a story for another day, maybe the next book, about the miracle of you being at the Fear into Faith last event and how you started praying for people. You had never prayed for people before, but God was moving, and He was really moving through you. And I felt like, I remember looking you in the eyes and being like, Shannon, have you ever laid hands and prayed for anybody? And you're like, no, I can't do that. And I was like, God's moving, just trust Him. And you prayed for like 50 people that night.
I did.
And I see God just taking you into such a new level, and it's beautiful to watch. And I'm sure we'll have you back on the show to talk about that miracle.
Yes, exactly.
Well, thank you for being here.
Well, thank
You're
you.
An absolute joy.
And I just love you and this community, and now I get to help women heal and love themselves.
Amen, amen. And thank you for watching. And I just pray for you, if you're suffering with emotional or anything like that, and you need healing, there is so much healing that can happen when you turn your life over to God, when you choose to be obedient. My friend, miracles can happen in your life. And I'll see you next time.